The movie starts with Ajika in a recording studio, singing her heart out. Amos is agitated because it's not his studio and his boss will be there any minute. As if on cue, Ugo, his boss, shows up with a woman and chases Amos out. Ajiki quickly hides and has to endure Ugo's flirting. Setting the mood, he calls it. His first mistake is forgetting the woman's name. His second is leaving the studio door unlocked because two other women strut in, angry and out for blood. Ugo takes cover in the vocal booth, and that's when he spots Ajike. There's not much room for confrontation because one of the women pours liquid into his mixer to teach him a lesson. The security guard eventually ushers them out, but the damage has been done. His mixer is fried and Ajiki's demo is gone. Chiki calls him to remind him they have a meeting. Obi will also be present at the meeting and hopes his two brothers won't be late. Ugo just might be. His car has been vandalized and he's having a hard time processing the consequences of his actions. Ajiki keeps hammering that she'd like to retrieve her demo, but now is obviously not a good time. She promises that she'll be back, but Ugo is fine with never having to see her again. Meanwhile, Agatha gathers mothers from church to discuss their annual children's Christmas gala party. Deaconess Fakorede interrupts to announce she's now a grandmother. Mrs. Bliss, being the youngest, is exempted from the conversation. The rest of the group, all grandmothers except Agatha, begin to speculate and make pointed remarks about her three grown sons, none of whom are married. Their fake concern and gossip push Agatha to her breaking point, and she finally explodes. The brothers and Kanang are reunited. Obi has set up a public proposal for his babe, Vera. After a quick choreography, he gets down on one knee and proposes. Agatha is aware and believes she will soon cease to be a laughingstock. But Vera storms off without an answer, and the live stream gets back to Agatha, who faints at the turn of events. The brothers rush to the hospital. She suffered an anxiety attack, and her blood pressure rose. The boys go into the room to see their mom, who is bitter about the situation. Obi promises that what happened with Vera is just a minor setback and that he will marry her. Agatha is also worried about Ugo, who has established himself as a playboy. Chiki, on the other hand, has not been in a relationship for as long as she can remember. The two other boys find themselves telling their mom that they have found someone, and will be introducing their girlfriends to her soon. She asks when exactly, and Obi blurts out, "By Christmas." Hearing this, Agatha feels much better, and is ready to be discharged. The brothers plan to take turns caring for their mother until she gets better. Having them together under the same roof, once again, brings back fond memories. She decides that whichever son gets married first will inherit the family house. Ugo gets upset because he's the first child, so the house should be his birthright. But Agatha doesn't play by such rules. The house is a family home and will go to whoever is ready to settle down and have a family. While Chike shows no interest, Ugo and Obi are ready to fight for the grand prize tooth and nail. Ugo is in a big mess. His partner Cassie wants to pull out of the recording studio business, and she's insisting on walking away with 50% of the investment. Ugo also owes Mr. Tony money, and he finds himself promising to pay when he gets married and inherits the equivalence of 2 plots of prime Ikoyi property. Under pressure, Ugo starts calling several women on his call list with hopes of reconnecting with one. Sadly, he's been a bad boy, and they all seem to hate him. Obi and Vera are co-workers. She announces they have a new client to impress, and when Obi takes her aside to talk, she expresses she was embarrassed the other day. They've been dating for almost a year, but she isn't ready for marriage. What she is ready for is a promotion at work, and if Obi wants to get back on her good side, then he should prepare for the project. Agatha calls another meeting to pick up from where they stopped. Deaconess Fakoreda tries to hijack the meeting again, but Agatha exercises her authority as president. She's able to grab the attention of other attendees when she suggests that they take the gala to the ghetto, something they've never done before. Obi is still in a sour mood, despite Kanang, also a co-worker, and his best friend, trying to cheer him up. He just wants Vera back, not caring he has turned a joke on the internet. Kanang also experienced a heartbreak that morning, but she wants to help Obi. She proposes Obi could focus on someone else to make Vera jealous. He doesn't like the idea, but when Vera shows up, Kanang acts like Obi's new lover. Seeing Vera riled up makes Obi agree to Kanang's plan, whatever makes him get Vera back before Christmas. Ugo would rather take Cassie home to his mother than ask his mother or his brothers for money to pay off his debt. The plan backfires. Agatha knows they're trying to trick her. Meanwhile, Chiki keeps getting calls and texts from a mystery figure named Sammy. To refine Ugo's taste in women, Agatha takes her family to church. Turns out Ajike worships there and she's part of the choir. Ugo volunteers to replace the current drummer who will be going abroad for his studies. After service, Ugo approaches Ajika and he offers her a free demo to make up for the last time. Obi is starting to suspect that Vera might be gaslighting him, but she knows how to play her cards, much like Delilah. Kanang sees right through it and is quietly fuming, though she manages to stay calm. To make things worse, their latest client is unimpressed with the work they've delivered so far. Obi and Ugo still have their eyes on the prize, and Ugo believes he has the upper hand with his new catch, Ajika. She comes over to the studio, and he pulls the same lines and moves he pulls for every lady. She tells him off, stating she's not one to play with. Then she walks away. When Ugo gets home, he finds Tony and his henchman, Javelin. It's a few weeks to Christmas, and Tony hasn't heard wedding bells. To compensate for the delay, he helps himself to Ugo's TV screen. 32 days to Christmas. Ugo has an interview with the church council. They have a standard if he's going to be part of the choir. Ajika vouches for him, and after the meeting, he expresses gratitude to her, wanting to hang out if possible. Chiki gets a call from the doctor. He needs to bring his mom back to the hospital right away. Ajika takes Ugo to Mushin, the ghetto of Lagos, where she stays. It's also where Agatha plans to host the gala. Ajiki is well known and loved in Mushin. The planning committee for the gala arrives in Mushin, and someone snatches Mrs. Bliss's bag. Chiki goes after the thief, but it's Ajiki and her uncle who convince the thief to give the bag back. Ugo sends pictures to Obi, and it gives him an idea that impresses the client. Vera is also impressed but won't give Obi what he wants yet. She appoints Obi and Kanang to go to Mushin for the approved project. She's aware Kanang is a threat, but Obi is still a fool in love, and she plans to keep him that way. Ajiki records a new demo. Obi prepares for his date with Vera. Cheek meets up with this mysterious Sammy. It's Mrs. Bliss. Ajike invites Ugo to an all-night event when he asks that they hang out. She's skeptical about his intentions, especially after she finds a woman's underwear in the studio. He'd claimed earlier that he was a changed man. Ugo goes home and finds his apartment empty, courtesy of Tony. Vera stands Ugo up, and Mrs. Bliss reminds Chiki she's a married woman with no promises of leaving her husband. Vera shows up the next morning and asks Obi not to be upset with her. Work comes first, and they need to be at Mushin. Vera isn't happy that Kanang is tagging along. They meet up with the gala committee and announce their client will be sponsoring the event. Preparations are already in full swing with the neighborhood hard at work with decorations. Ugo arrives at the venue for the all-night event. He initially thinks it's a club or a house party, but what he meets is a prayer vigil. At their next rehearsal, Ugo expresses his anger. He feels Ajiki could have just turned him down instead of deceiving him. Tony shows up at the recording studio, and his henchman attacks Ugo when he tries to stand his ground. Ajike arrives when the troublemakers are leaving. She finds Ugo hurt and offers comfort when he breaks down crying. Ugo confides that as the firstborn, he can't go running for help from his mom or siblings. He seizes the moment to express how he feels about Ajike. He'd like her to give him a chance, and promises there'll be no games. It's 15 days until Christmas. Obi's company is having an office party. Vera has an announcement to make. She thanks everyone for a job well done, appreciating Obi in particular. She was foolish in turning down his proposal, so it's her turn to ask her to marry him. He says yes, and the crowd goes wild. Obi goes looking for Kanang. Her ex wants her back too, but she wants Obi's opinion on what to do. They're best friends, she says when Obi asks her why his opinion matters. She seems sad and hurt, and Obi draws close to assess what's wrong. That's when it happens. Their first kiss. Kanang's Uber ride comes and Kanang runs off before things get more complicated. Ajike goes to a club with Ugo, while Obi confesses to Chiki what he's done. When Vera comes to visit, Obi comes clean. He wants Kanang, not her. Chime comforts his brother, and in the process has an epiphany that has him leaving to confront Sammy. Kanang's ex is Tony Torpedo, Ugo's creditor and worst nightmare. He promises to be Obi's worst nightmare too, if he keeps pursuing Kanang. Cheek is shocked to see Sammy, Samantha's husband, answer the door. She stays by her husband's side, making it seem like Cheek has paid them a friendly but odd visit. When her husband retreats inside, Sammy tells him it's over. Her husband is back and whatever she and Cheek shared was a fling. Ajiki has too much fun at the club, so Ugo and Cassie have to bring her back to Ugo's apartment to rest. When she wakes the following morning, Ugo teases her and tries to kiss her but she pulls back. He goes on to tell her he likes her. He wants to go on a proper date and wants a serious relationship. Ajiki tells him for that to happen, the church would need to sanction the relationship. Ugo faces the council and they give him the go-ahead, enforcing a strict rule of no intimacy before marriage. Obi tells Kanang how he feels but she runs off. Again, Obi then faces Tony, who decides to leave Kaneng alone if he's paid double what Ugo owes. Cheek and Obi go to see Ugo, who remains strong-headed. He plans to marry Ajike and sell his inheritance. Obi has something to say about Ajike. It's the day of the gala. There's a crowd, there's food, decorations, Santa Claus, and a giant Christmas tree made from canoe boats and cable wires. Ugo and Ajike get into a heated argument. He accuses her of being affiliated with Tony Torpedo, so she angrily clarifies Tony once lived in Mushin, and that she went to him to plead on Ugo's behalf. That's when she learned Ugo was using her. Ugo transfers aggression to Obi, who he believes sabotaged his relationship for the inheritance. A fight breaks out between brothers until someone throws water in their faces. After the event, Ugo leaves a voicemail apologizing for getting it all wrong. He heads to the studio, feeling sorry for himself, when Tony and Javelin arrive with some of his previously seized belongings. Tony doesn't explain, only saying the rest of his properties will be returned soon. Obi sits Kaneng down and assures her that he truly likes her. He insists it's no scheme to make Vera jealous and admits he's sorry for not recognizing her worth sooner. He then asks her to marry him. When the brothers reunite at their family home, they remain hostile toward each other. Seeing this, their mother begins to cry. To comfort her, the brothers hug and exchange Merry Christmas wishes. Obi brings someone special along, Kaneng. Agatha takes Kaneng aside for a private chat, while Ugo quietly tells Obi that he knows he helped pay off his debt. Ugo promises to pay his brother back. Agatha returns with Kaneng and announces she likes her future daughter-in-law. Everyone is at the house party, including Mrs. Bliss, who notices that Chike has someone new. The news gets back to Agatha that the church has officially hosted the best Christmas gala in its history. Ugo is fine with Obi inheriting the house, and Obi mentions he got Ugo a Christmas gift. It's Ajiki. She tells Ugo that his brothers begged her to come. He gets down on his knees and apologizes to her. She's still hurt, but everyone joins Ugo to plead on her behalf. They end their beef with a hug, Merry Christmas ringing through the air.